Hello, gentle reader. Come closer. It is time for the favorite reading vlog I'll do this year, I'm sure, just because of the fact that I am finally getting to read the sequels to my favorite books of 2024. So it is Thursday, the 7th of December. Jesus, where is my brain? I can tell you I have just gone off of 4 days with a cold. I still somewhat of a cold and apparently my brain is no longer working. But yes, it is the 7th of November. It is the publication date for the Blackfire Blade by James Logan. So I am starting a week off. And I am very much looking forward to, it's the 6th of November even, Jesus. But I'm very much looking forward to this week. So I'm going to be starting this week by reading The Blackfire Blade by James Logan. On the 11th of November, the sequel to The Will of the Many also releases, so The Strength of the Few releases. However, I don't know when I'll have my hands on it. I pre-ordered it like a few days ago via a bookstore that didn't really have it for a long time. They had like the €50 edition on their website, but I was like, that is not the price that I'm going to be paying in the end, so I don't want to risk pre-ordering it at that price and then ending up being an accurate price, because when the price is lower they don't really charge you the €50 for the pre-order. But still, I didn't want to run risk, of course, of having to be paid €50 for that. But now I have decently priced edition for it, but the 11th is a bank holiday over here. And typically they are pretty good with pre-orders, but I definitely still see it as a possibility that they would normally only ship it out on the 11th, and then now they're only going to ship it out on the 12th. So is this potentially like a massive mistake that I made? Should I have just gone to the store and gotten it from there instead on the 12th? We shall see. In any case, I won't have time to finish it within this vlog because, you know, I'm going to be making this a 1 week reading vlog, and in any case I only have 1 week off, so I'm gonna have to interrupt my reading of The Strength of the Few for 1 day of work, and then hopefully I'll be able to finish it in the weekend after that. But I do have another sequel that is releasing that I can dive into in between those two, and that would be the 7th book in King's Dark Tidings by Kade, also releasing on the 11th. But I always listen to this as audiobooks. In any case, they are not available as physical books. The first few are available as physical books, but at like huge cost, because they were only released physically for like a short time, I think, and so I don't actually think that they're still like readily available, or in any case that price makes me think that they're not readily available. So I've always listened to them as audiobooks. The one time that I read it as an ebook, I didn't enjoy it as much, so now I'm always just like getting the audiobook, and so that one is releasing on the 11th of November. So if I'm already done with the Blackfire Blade by then, I don't have to wait for the Strength of the Few. I can just dive into the Blackfire, the 7th book in King's Dark Tiding, which I don't really ruin and something. Ruin and yeah, I don't know. Ruin and reservation, I want to say, but that's probably not the case. But it's that I'm also looking forward to. But so yes, tonight I am starting the Blackfire Blade. I have the ebook for this one because I will get the special edition from the Broken Binding. However, that isn't shipping yet. It will ship this month, but I just couldn't wait for it. I was like, no, I want to read this the moment that it is released. So that is what I'm going to be doing now. I am going to add to the B-roll for this vlog some video clips of when I went to Facts last weekend. Because of the fact that I have been sick all week, I didn't really feel like filming vlog clips or anything like that, or filming video updates, and so as a consequence I didn't really have much to actually make a vlog for the first week of November. So instead I will add that footage into this particular clip. So I went to Facts, which is basically one of the Comic Cons that you have here in Belgium. I had a great time. We spent like 7 hours in there. We did have to queue for like an hour and a half to get in, but we had a great time there. I didn't end up buying much. I just bought like Christmas cards with like cats on them, but I definitely had a great time seeing all the cosplay over there, and we ended up like like playing board games for like the final 2 hours or so. I got to see Brit as well from Basically Brit, but of course I was like too socially awkward to actually say something to her and make her know that I knew who she was. So yeah, that was yeah, an awkward moment. But I also got away without buying a book, which I also thought was like strong on my end. But so yes, we shall first off dive into the Blackfire Blades. So this is a sequel to the Silver Blood Promise, which is a book in which we have a guy called Logan who has basically been kind of exiled almost from his homeland. Not really, but he was banned from the academy after a fellow student died in a duel with him. And so he has now basically left home. He's now whiling away his time in some other city where he's basically just drinking and gambling to pass the time. And there's a bug on my lens. I don't think you can actually see it yet on the video, but it's distracting me. But so he has been whiling away his time like that until he hears of the death of his father. His father has been murdered, and he has left him with one final message which sends him in the direction of the city of Safrona. And once he's there, he's trying to figure out what happened to his father, but he gets embroiled into a much bigger plot. So this is in principle a murder mystery in terms of its setup. However, it's much more of an adventure fantasy than that. I personally don't tend to like murder mystery plot lines, and I had no issue with this book whatsoever. It of course is trying to answer some questions about it, but there's so much sidetracking that they kind of lose track of the initial question a lot of the time as well. And I'm very much looking forward to it. This was one of my two favorite books of last year. The other one was The Will of the Many. I could not decide between the two of them which one I like more, and I now understand, having just reread both of them, why that is, because they are in some sense they are very similar to one another. There are quite a lot of elements that they do share with one another, but on the other hand, in vibes they are just like so different. Like the Silver Blood Promise is like action packed, a huge ride. You are just like taken from event to event, from twist to twist, but it's always like moving at a super fast pace. There's just a lot of things happening within a short period of time to some extent, whereas the Will of the Many has that same sort of like plot twisty sense to it. However, it moves at a much slower pace. There is much more sort of like depth to the knowledge that you are given, so there's much more sort of like building up of the world and building up of the different elements that will then slot together at the ends, making it a little bit more of a dense, slower read, and also filling up the pages with so much information. And that sounds sort of like negative towards the Silver Blood Promise, but it absolutely isn't. I love my experience with the Silver Blood Promise, but yes, I definitely put in much more effort with The Will of the Many. In case you are somebody who rewards effort in reading, then I guess The Will of the Many stands out in that regard. I think it's kind of like prestige-wise it would like win out on it, but I definitely enjoyed both of them a ton. And I would say that probably for me the Silver Blood Promise just like slightly outweighs the other one, but as I said, they are quite different reading experiences, so to that extent I cannot necessarily like edge one out over the other. But yes, I am very ready to now finally dive in. I don't know actually what time is it. It is almost 7 o'clock, so yeah, it's been a while for me to be able to dive into it. I arrived home, ordered fast food, continued listening to the chapter that I was listening to on the way here, and then like had the fast food while watching something, so it's now finally time to dive in. Throughout this week I'm also going to try and do a little bit of an autumnal reset when it comes to my apartment, and I think I might want to make like a list of tasks, like the tasks that cost me effort and the tasks that I will like get energy out of, or the tasks that, you know, like I want to be doing and I have no effort of putting myself to doing. So those would be like gaming and reading. I don't think I'll put YouTube time in there. I'll just see YouTube time as idle time basically. And I kind of want to see if I can kind of like balance these out. But that would require a lot of like timing, using the timer a lot throughout this weekend. So throughout this week. So we'll see how long I keep that up with, because that is not in my personality at all. So we'll see, because that means I have to start that right now as well, as I'm starting the Blackfire blade now. So at this point in time we have 250 minutes in the should column and 326 in the want column. So the want is definitely overruling, and to be fair, I also will, like, I would prefer that direction. I mean, it's not like I wouldn't mind being very productive in the should department. It's just that, you know, it is my week off. I do want to do a lot of wants. My goal for this week is for it to be like a cozy reading week, and so yeah, it's definitely not going to be the case that I'm gonna like be super annoyed with myself if I have more wants than shoulds. However, I do hope that the should department is also going to be like heavily stocked, that I'm gonna see that I got around to quite a fair few things as well. I do have a fair few audiobooks for this month as well to get through, so I can definitely keep on being productive in the reading front as well while taking care of the shoulds. They only count as shoulds in those moments because, you know, listening to an audiobook while cleaning is a way to make cleaning more appealing. So I'm not gonna make cleaning like a total disaster just to have the shoulds and the wants like be perfectly separated. So yeah, while I'm listening to an audiobook, if it is for a should, then it just only counts as the should and it does not count on the one side neither. So yeah, today we are, so yesterday I actually wanted to mainly tackle the living room because that's like the room that I'm going to spend most of my time in throughout this week. And so I wanted to have a nice and clean start on that, but then when I got back from the grocery store, you know, like it was already dark. It was dark in my living room and I was like, I really don't feel like mopping the floor at this point in time and tidying up. So I left that behind, and that is going to be one of the tasks for today. So today I want to finish that living room cleanup by mopping the floors over there, tidying up a little bit. I don't think that there's like there is a lot of junk lying around, but a lot of that is also just junk I use regularly, so that's not really going to move. But I am gonna have a look at, like, there's a basket that has a couple of things in it that I haven't touched in like a year, I feel like, so I'm gonna have a look there to see if those items maybe can have a more permanent place somewhere, or maybe can be discarded because I'm clearly not using them. And then for the rest I'm gonna focus on the kitchen for today. I did, as I said, I cleaned the dishwasher. Actually, it had been such a while that I decided to run the cleaning program on it twice yesterday, and then in the evening I also did still do a load of dishes. So the counter is looking like is relatively empty at the moment, so I already put some effort into the kitchen yesterday, so my main issue today is going to be like cleaning, like emptying the dishwasher again, and then I wash some by hand, those I have to put away as well, and aside from that I'm going to clean the countertops, clean the filters on the suction cap, and then I'm gonna have a look a little bit at the fridge to see if there's something in there that maybe needs to be discarded as well. I did discard a few things yesterday as well, and then aside from that, I think my main task for today in terms of like the should pile is going to be getting rid of my glassware. I have a ton of glass that I try to occasionally bring to the glass container, but it's going very slow, and I think today I'll probably take this opportunity, the spring clean opportunity, to just put all of the glass into the trolley that I usually use to go grocery shopping and just look like a total alcoholic when I'm dumping it all in the glass container in one go. At least it won't be like I typically do this around the holiday period because, you know, you have like the new clean slate for the new year. So at least I don't look like the typical alcoholic at like the holiday season, I guess. I'll just look like your regular old alcoholic who's dumping like a year's supply of bottles of wine and stuff like that into the container. I mean, I'm making it sound super dramatic. It is going to be like a trolley full, so it is still going to be a lot. But I live in an apartment. It's not like I can keep a lot of glassware over here, so it's not like it's boxes upon boxes upon boxes of glassware neither. But so yeah, that's going to be my main focus for the shoots, and then I hope that I can also like put in a wok in here as well, which is also going to go in the should pile. So basically anything that requires some effort on my end, in the sense of like I have to persuade myself to do it now rather than tell myself like, no, I'll do it tomorrow, that is going into the should pile. When it is something that I can just like do instantly the moment that I think of it, I don't need to persuade myself to do it now, then that is going to be in the want pile. And because I am a human being and I don't want to be tracking all of my time, there are definitely also activities that I do that I'm not counting at all. Like yesterday evening when I'd finished my Blackfire Blades reading session, for example, I was kind of like, okay, I'm done with like the tracking for today. Let's just like look some YouTube, maybe watch a series or something like that. And so that I don't track at all, even though technically speaking, I guess that would be in the want pile. But yeah, I guess the want pile is sort of like what I want this week. It's not even, it's like, it's what I want. The want pile is what I wanted this week to be. The should pile is what I should add to this week to make this a healthy, well-rounded week, I guess. Nothing left for me to say for now. I'm going to go and do some more. And in the should pile, we are also putting filming. So, and I should have started tracking this. I can of course watch the count on this clip, but I actually had to start this clip over many times because Fate is in a very chatty mood and I cannot seem to get her to shut up. Alright guys, so it is Monday morning. I had a productive weekend. I definitely feel like it is more or less balanced, but it's definitely in favor of the should side of things. So I've definitely been being a good girl throughout this weekend and been doing a lot more stuff that I had to do or that I felt that I had to do, versus just like indulging in gaming and in reading my book, which also means that I'm a little bit behind actually, because I start today with 60% in the Blackfire Blade. However, tomorrow is the publication date for The Strength of the Few. Now I will not get my hands on it on the publication date unless I'm gonna get a message today that it is shipping, and even then I'm not sure it will arrive tomorrow because tomorrow is a bank holiday over here, so I don't know whether postal service will run, for example. So yeah, I might not get my hands on it tomorrow, in which case it is okay for this book to carry over into tomorrow. However, tomorrow is also the release date of an audiobook for the seventh book, I think, in King's Dark Tiding, or the sixth one. And so I do have another book that I can start tomorrow if I finish this one today, but we'll see. Because I also want to go to like a garden center where they have this like lovely Christmas display and like a huge area full of Christmas decorations. And I would love to go there as well somewhere this week. And so, but they're also exceptionally open on the bank holiday, so I might actually go on Tuesday rather than going today. But so yeah, we are more or less even. However, I haven't been able to, I forget always to put on the timer when I'm filming these types of things. So I'll have to kind of figure out what my filming times were to yesterday as well as today in order to be able to add those into the count. But those are going to go into the should side of things, so they're actually going to just like skew things even further. And then I definitely need to edit my recap for Strength of the Few today, so that is definitely also adding. And ideally I would also love to film the announcement video for my readathon for running in December, so that that one can go up on Wednesday. And as I want that to be a premiere, the earlier I can get it up, the earlier people will know that it's there on Wednesday, and so people might actually join for the premiere. So yeah, a lot of things for the should pile as well today, but I think I'm going to start by putting all this footage into the PC, and in the meantime taking another reading break so that I can get a little bit further into Blackfire Blade, make it to the 2/3 point, for example, before lunchtime, and then yeah, hopefully just getting some further progress in it later today. Hello, I have finished the Blackfire Blade now. I really enjoyed this one. I don't have that overwhelming sort of like, ooh, 5-star read sense as I did with the first one, but that's also just because like I was expecting it this time around, and it just really delivered, you know, like such a fun adventure story, exactly what I expected from it, exactly what I wanted from it, and without it becoming, you know, like predictable or formulaic or anything like that. And it definitely, towards the ending of this book, kind of steered us into a direction to kind of pick up the adventure again, and to some extent it kind of feels like we're only now starting the adventure properly, that we've like done the preparatory steps, and they were definitely difficult preparatory steps in order to get to the actual big adventure that is going to unfold now. I don't know how many books are expected within this series, but I'm kind of hopeful based off of what we've got here that this is definitely going to be more than like a single book. It's going to be more than a trilogy, and I'm very happy about that because I just have an amazing time with these books. So yeah, I was super happy with this experience. I'm very happy with these characters and some of the conversations that happen between the characters as well, because definitely in the beginning our protagonist is being a little bit of the asshole that he's definitely shown himself to be at times, and the asshole vibe was definitely like strong at the beginning of the book, and I'm happy that we had some sort of like conversations to address that behavior, and conversations to address behaviors on like all sides, not necessarily just of this one protagonist. And so yeah, I love my crew, I love Flea, and yeah, I'm very happy to see this story take off to a new destination probably. And unlike last book, we actually don't really have an idea about where we're taking things. The only thing that I can kind of still think we're probably going to do is there's this like one phrase that was mentioned at the beginning of book 1, and that I thought meant that we were going to be seeing this within book 2, and then that didn't end up happening. So I do think that we're probably still visiting that region either in book 3 or maybe even later on. But yes, I am very happy. And I also have a dilemma now, because it is the 11th of November. It is somewhere in the afternoon. I have an audiobook available to me for King's Dark Tiding number 7, I think, or I could buy the ebook for The Strength of the Few, because originally my whole idea had been sort of like, I'll just, like, I was taking the bridge between the weekends and the 11th, which is a bank holiday here in Belgium, and then when I found out that the Strength of the Few was releasing on the 11th, I was like, ooh, like let me make a week of it. And then when I saw like, okay, the Blackfire Blade is releasing on the 6th, I was like, okay, let me start my week a little bit early. But now I'm just struggling a little bit because I just cannot get my hands on a physical copy of The Strength of the Few. Like, who knows, maybe if I go to bookstores tomorrow it might actually be there, but I'm actually not really that optimistic about that, because I went to the bookstore yesterday hoping that maybe they had like it lying there early and sneakily put it in there, but not even the first book is in there, you know. And the fact that they had to order my copy from the sort of like its supplier rather than that they had it already in their warehouse kind of makes me think that they might not have it. And if I were to order it today on their website, it says like delivery for 1 or 2-3 weeks, which makes me think that they do not have it on stock, and which makes me hesitant about whether they will actually have some in store. I'll probably still go to store tomorrow morning to figure out if they might have it lying around, and then I'll just cancel my order for it, because I'm pretty sure it's going to ship somewhere tomorrow throughout the day, because today is a bank holiday. I don't have any hopes for it shipping today. It is in their warehouse now, so it is going to ship tomorrow. It can be with me on Thursday. But yeah, I kind of want to read it. I kind of want this initial intent for this week, which is reading the Blackfire Blade and The Strength of the Few. And even though I know that there's no way that I'm finishing The Strength of the Few within this week or within this vlog, like I still kind of want to have a little bit of a head start on it, so that potentially throughout the weekend I could otherwise finish it. Maybe that's already also a little bit of a grasping at straws, but still, yeah, I don't know. I will see what I'm gonna do. I haven't decided yet, but so yeah. Have finished that. Today I also went to a sort of a garden center to go through the Christmas section, and of course had to wear the first Christmas jumper of the season. This is actually also my favorite Christmas jumper, so I'm very much happy to be in it, because I'm going to be filming the announcement video for Gamenightathon, the lottery edition, which is already out by the time that you're seeing this video, and so I'll have that linked in the description box. But so yeah. Let me get around to filming that. It is here, it is here. Ooh, Jesus. It is here. We have half a day to go in my time off, half a day to go in this vlog, and it is finally here, so let us crack this baby open. You know, I have taken a shower, hair is not dry yet. Excuse the dishevelment. I have an hour and a half, a little bit less, to go in the, what are we gonna say, the audiobook for King's Dark Tiding number 7, but that'll, I mean, it won't go on hold immediately, because I actually, in the twilight zone of waiting for this book, I haven't eaten lunch yet. It's also like 12:20 only, so it's not like I'm that late, but now I can finally like settle down, cook, and now I'm of course like, yeah, I should have just done that an hour ago, and then I could have like dived into this book straight away, but you know, I just was like in this sort of like limbo where I felt like I needed to be able to like put everything down the second that this book was going to arrive, and I was unable to focus on cooking. Now, The Strength of the Few, it is here, and please, please, please let it be reversible dust jacket as it's supposed to be. Let us have a look-see. Oh, I am not going to reverse it yet, but so you can see the full reversible dust jacket yet. But I think I'm not going to reverse it yet. I'm going to reverse it once I've finished this, because like on my Will of the Many one, there's like so many of my fingerprints on that cover that I definitely need to kind of like clean it at some point. So I think I'll keep the pure cover for Strength of the Few, the one that I actually want to put on display. I'll keep that one kind of like under wraps at the moment until I kind of finish this one. Or maybe I'll just reverse it to take a picture of it and then I'll reverse it back. I don't know. In any case, I am so happy that it is finally here. Timing on this vlog went a little bit haywire, though this is just what I was sort of like dreading all along. I was just like dreading with the release date of this book being the 11th of November, and that being a bank holiday. I was here, I was like, oh, I'm not, like, if I get it as a pre-order, unless they're gonna deliver to me earlier, I'm just not gonna be getting this one on release date. And I still kind of been thinking, in the previous clip I think I said that I was still kind of considering on the 12th going to the bookstore early in the morning, and if it was there, kind of cancelling my order. But basically at like 8 o'clock or something on the 12th is when I already got the message that this one was sort of like registered with the postal office, so I couldn't really cancel anymore at that point in time. I also did check the store supply, because you can check that online, and so they didn't have it in stores. They only had like the paperback. Not even, they didn't even have the paperback. They had none available. They had the paperback, like on the paperback you could at least check whether it was in store. On the hardback you couldn't even check whether it was in store, making me think that they're not really placing that. And we do have another bookstore that would have potentially had it here. But yeah, at that point in time, I wouldn't be able to cancel my other order anymore, and so I was like, yeah, let's just wait for it now. But so yeah, that just means that I still have all of the joy of reading this book ahead of me. Let's see it in that light. Though the past day of seeing people starting to read on it and like giving updates on Instagram of them like diving straight into the book, I was like, that was my plan. I wanted to dive straight in. But so yeah, I'm happy to have it nonetheless. I'm happy to be able to start on it after I've gotten my lunch, because actually I'm quite hungry at this point in time as well. But so yeah, I'm definitely gonna dive into this one the moment that I've finished my lunch. But so yeah, let's get a little bit of King's Dark Tiding done first. I'm pretty sure that I will finish that one today. As I said, I have like under 2 hours left to go, under an hour and a half even, I think, to go at this point in time. I will listen to a little bit now while I'm preparing some lunch, but then also in the afternoon I have an appointment. I have physical therapy every week on Thursday, so I do have to interrupt my reading time for that, and then I go there by bicycle, and so I'm going to take the audiobook for King's Dark Tiding with me, and I think with that we'll probably either be done or more or less done, and so I guess I'll just listen to it for the remainder of the time that I need to in order to finish it. And that will be that. And that will be the end of this vlog when we have finished that. And I'll then also give you like my update about how far I got into the strength of the few in the meantime. But it will not be that far, I don't think so. Like maybe I'll have gotten to like 100 pages, but like don't expect me to be like halfway through this book by the end of today. I don't think that is very feasible neither, and I'm also not somebody who can do like marathon reading where I'm like reading hours without interruption, so I will need breaks regularly even if I am going to be spending most of my time on this book in the afternoon. So I don't think that we're gonna get a lot of progress yet, but at least we're gonna have a start in the book, and I can kind of give you my sort of like first gut reaction to the book. When it comes to King's Dark Tiding 7, I am quite happy with that book as well. Like the arc that had kind of started 2 books ago, I think, was an arc that I enjoyed less because it led to more splintering within our main characters. So like let's say the first 2 books within the series are kind of our characters meeting and like a group starting to form, and we do have other characters that still add on to that along the way in the 3rd book and the 4th, for example, I think. But the vast majority of our core cast is in that 1st and 2nd book. And then in the sort of like 5th and 6th then, I guess, we do have some sort of a splintering of storylines with some characters being in different places, and so less interaction between our sort of like core cast. And it's not like I dislike these books, but I missed those interactions. And so this book is kind of mixed, where we're like moving away from that. We still have some of that in the beginning, and then we're kind of moving towards more interactions between the different groups again, and so I'm very much living for that. And there is one particular interaction that took place here with our main character and another character that I cannot talk about because of spoilers, but it is an interaction that I've really been like living for over the past 2 books. I've been wanting to see this person's reaction to something, and so I'm very happy that we had that scene within this book. But so yeah, I'm almost done with that one, and so yeah, I'll be saddened again with having to wait, but I expect it now to be more or less on a yearly basis. There was like a long breach, like a long wait between the 5th and the 6th, I think. But so now we've waited like a year between the 6th and the 7th, so I'm hoping that we're just gonna get one a year again for the time being, because I think she had like a traditionally published series that also came out in the meantime that did not do all that well, and I must admit that I also didn't like it all that much. I didn't even know that the third book came out earlier this year. And so I think that that one is done, so hopefully she can focus more again on Kingstark Tidings, which is just a series that is near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love it. But yeah, no more delaying. Let's get to cooking so that I can get to this book. Hello everybody, it is Friday. I am getting ready to go on do some sprints over on my channel, but I thought it was also time for me to wrap up this vlog before I do so, just because I will be reading more in this book before that, and I just want to wrap up my thoughts at this point in time. But so yeah, the vlog time frame stopped yesterday evening because unfortunately today I had to get back to work. 5 more weeks and then I have my next holiday period, because I will be taking the entire Christmas break off of work. But so yeah, I had a good time yesterday with Strength of the Few. I didn't get that far into it yet, but I got like 10% in, which means that I got 70 pages done out of the 720 pages that this book is long. And I gotta say, I'm not gonna go into spoilers, but there is structurally a difference between book 1 and 2 that you might know if you've, first of all, started this book, but also if you've finished book 1, you might kind of estimate at a certain, might guess at a certain structural change that happens in book 2. And that is going to frustrate me, but at the same time, it's also going to keep me reading, because at the end of the chapter, I kind of want to, like go into the next chapter, even if certain aspects of the structure at the moment are kind of frustrating me because it's not always giving me what I want. But that's a very vague explanation that I'm going to give here. But in any case, in terms of my shoulds versus my needs, I got to like 1,200 minutes of shoulds and 1,475 minutes of needs, otherwise of wants, I guess. And I'm quite happy with that. Yes, does that mean that I have more, like I've indulged more in like what I wanted to do than that I've like been conscientious and spent my time doing what I should probably do? Yeah, but on the other hand, like the plan all along had been for me to indulge in my reading, read the books that were coming out now, and like this was planned to be a reading holiday. And so all of the shoulds that I got done, they're like just like amazing that I got them done, amazing that I slotted them into this week without losing the feeling of this being a reading week, I feel like I balance things out pretty well in that regard. And so on average, it comes down to like 40 minutes a day more indulging in what I really like, in the activities that I don't have to put any sort of effort into starting, that I will always find very easy to get started on, versus doing the things that, I should do, which sometimes also are things that I do enjoy doing, but that are just things that I need to kind of put in more of an effort to make myself start doing them. Now, as typical, I start this vlog off with being quite conscientious about like filming small clips of what I was doing and like doing the timer and showing the timer. Towards the end of the week, definitely with the timer, like was doing the timer, but I wasn't taking videos of what I was actually doing at that point in time. And whenever I was filming, then you guys lost me. When I was filming, I always forgot to put on the timer. I didn't want every single activity that I do to have to fall in one of these categories, and therefore I also didn't like, therefore there are a lot of times in which I didn't track that, because it was just more of like, I'm done for the day with the wants and the shoulds, and so now I'm just going to laze about and do like nothing important. And that was basically what like the YouTube time turned out to be. It was sort of like the neutral zone, I guess. The time wasting zone is more accurate, but that also needs to be there in an experiment like this one especially. But so yeah, I do think I'm happy with the progress. I'm also very happy with the fact that I got to have a little bit of a thorough clean of like the living room, the kitchen area, and my bedroom. I didn't end up doing the rest of the apartment. I ended up focusing on those 3 areas, and I'm happy with that as well. So definitely the bedroom was due for like a, a little bit of a more thorough clean of the floor than had happened in a while. Like, I'd been cleaning, of course, in there, but like I hadn't necessarily gone through the effort of like moving everything out for a little bit so that I could like clean every single millimeter of the floor accurately. It was more like cleaning around some piles of junk, and so all the piles of junk now have moved into a waste have moved into like the laundry basket, and I do need to tackle those and see like which one of these things are going to move, which ones have to be placed somewhere else. But yeah, that is like this weekend's problem, I guess. But so yeah, I'm happy with the progress that I've made throughout this week. I've also made amazing progress because I read over 1,400 pages within these 7 days. So I read over 200 pages a day on average throughout this time period, which is like amazing progress for me. So that also means that I'm like close to reading 2,000 pages when we're not even in the midway point of the month yet. So that's looking good for what is achievable for this month, and I'm gonna need it if I want to kind of get to the remaining books that I want to get to within this month. But as I said in the beginning of this month on my sort of like TBR video, it's also like I'm not going to place as much importance on it as I potentially did in the last 2 months. I'm not going to try and like go as far as possible, go all out as much as possible in order to reach that goal. It's just that this week happened to line up with that goal just because of the fact that I had a week off, and so I had a lot of time to it and I didn't have any much plans. And I also had a lot of audiobooks to combine with cleaning as well, which also just really helped. But so yeah, with that, I'm going to end this weekly vlog. So I got to 2 of the 3 books that I was reading. I don't know whether I spoke much about King's Dark Tidings within this vlog, but in any case, I finished that one yesterday. I was actually supposed to finish it in the evening and just go into the strength of the few the moment that I finished it. But like when I listened to like the final chapter I listened to before, starting the strength of the few, it was just such a thrilling chapter that I had to continue, and I had to listen to the remaining half hour of it because I was like, no, I cannot stop here. I have to finish it now. So I've also had a great time with that one. But so yeah, good time with the first 2 sequels in series that I absolutely love and adore. And so far, a good time with the third one of these. So hopefully, I will have an amazing time with Strength of the Few, and that is going to happen in my next vlog, I guess. We'll see. We'll see whether I end up vlogging next week or not, because, with a sequel, there's less that you can talk about. So maybe I won't, because I won't have much going on aside from reading in terms of like filler for the content for the vlog. So we'll see whether one comes or not. But in any case, I hope you guys enjoyed this one and see you guys for the next video. Bye!